With more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes, Welton Rayom is committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. At Welton Rayom, they don't get paid unless you win. They handle complex personal injury claims caused by the fault of another in both state and federal courts. They handle auto, trucking, motorcycle, slip and fall, and bicycle accidents. Call 954-966-4646. That's 954-966-4646. Welton Rayom can help.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
Welcome to Caneswear. New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, Caneswear has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. Caneswear, the spot Miami fans shop.
Live Squared Circle Digest, the AEW Dynamite reaction show. We go on right as soon as the show ends, and we'll start right where it ended. Hangman Page against Darby Allin, and Darby Allin could take a hell of an ass kicking. He got his ass kicked for about 20 minutes, maybe, and then he springs into action and gets the pinfall. I'm starting to think Darby might have to be saved from Darby. And I love everything he does. And now he's on the 8-man tag on Collision, which starts at 5 o'clock on Saturday. They changed the time up. But I get it. He's young, but man, how much ass kicking and putting your body on the line do you have left? You know, any bump could be your last bump. And just to take that ass kicking he did, the fallback slam into the steps, the coffin drop that he got caught on, and then the belly to back suplex. Then he hit a coffin drop from the top of the entranceway. Just taking an ass kicking the whole match, basically. Got in a couple things, and then he finally wins. And we'll see where it goes. Again, he apparently won. I do not watch Rampage, but he won the Rampage Battle Royal. So he'll get an AEW World Title shot also at AEW Grand Slam, which is at Arthur Ashe Stadium. He's got Jack Perry at All In. He could end up as the TNT champion, head into the Grand Slam, and win the AEW Heavyweight Championship. Darby, man on a mission. Let me tell you, we'll see where it goes. We had no doubt in the chat. So, again, Dynamite, it was a Dynamite, man. It was an okay Dynamite. They're gearing up for AEW All In. You got the Mariah May sit down with Renee Paquette, where she says, since day one, I wanted to be Toni Storm. Toni Storm says the business will eat you up. And she ended it with, I guess I want to eat. And she told Renee, I'm done talking. Renee gets up and leaves. They go back out to Shivani, Excalibur, and Taz at the thing. And a deranged Toni Storm comes out. And she's got her little shoe with her. She's hitting herself in the head. Looks like she hasn't slept in about 30 days. She's pounding on her chest. I'm liking, again, I'm not so happy that they did the switch as quick as they did. I thought they could have held it out a little longer. But hey, I'm enjoying the whole, story of Mariah May and Toni Storm from the beginning. And we'll see what's left on it here as they build up. Those two have been very good. They have a great chemistry together on screen. So we'll see if that equates to how good they are against each other in the ring. Camille, the Brick House, she made her debut. She took on a enhancement talent, Brittany Jade, got all her moves in. Mercedes grabs the microphone. She does, apparently, her little clique now is called Money Corporation. So that's where she's at, and she wants to turn this house, the AEW Dynamite house, into a mansion. We'll see. Apparently, Britt Baker is suspended by the EVP still, so we'll see where they go with that whole thing there with the EVPs and Mercedes Moné. Where does it lead? After last week's Blood and Guts, I don't know where it stands anymore. Where do the EVP stand? Right? They're supposed to be the conniving young bucks. We don't care about anything young bucks, and you're about to set Jack Perry on fire. And they showed a heart. They showed they have a heart. They showed weakness. How are those your EVPs? But we'll see where they go from there. The first 30 minutes, they made 2 matches for next week's Dynamite. I thought that was pretty interesting to see how that goes. We'll get into those in a minute. One of them was Chris Jericho. Apparently he's been champion now. FTW champion is basically the FTW champion is Chris Jericho. He's been champion for 102 days. Shibata came back last week. Brian Keith will take on Shibata next week on Dynamite. And they had a cake and everything for Chris Jericho. And they made sure that it was the first cake segment that there no cake got in the face. Alex Marvez did take a little scoop on his finger, but no cake to the face. I really thought at the end Brian Keith was going to flip it up into Marvez's face just to keep it going, but it has ended. The cake did not hit the face. Terry's in. What's up? EVPs could use a CEO, maybe. Yeah, CEO. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll make Frankie do the CEO dance. That'll be one of the punishments on these the pay-per-views things. My dad's in. Appreciate it. Everybody that's watching us on Twitch and on X. Don't forget on Twitch, you can send in a comment. On X, you can send in a comment as well. We should be able to get them. I appreciate everybody. Follow me at Sean_Stanley11 on X, IG, Threads. Please jump over to the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notifications if you can. Help, support. Appreciate everybody tuning in on your Wednesday night. The other thing was you had the Roderick Strong, the trios match, which I found interested was that Mortos pinned Mark Briscoe. It was a good, entertaining trios match. They kind of had the trios rules like AAA where there were tags. There were times where there were no tags. It was kind of, but it was a good, fun match. Everybody got their stuff in. Mortos picks up the pin, pinning the Ring of Honor heavyweight champion Mark Briscoe. We'll see if that leads to something. Mark Briscoe was on a streak this past week. They win Blood and Guts. He goes to the Ring of Honor, Death for Dishonor pay-per-view, wins, beats Roderick Strong. Went on to, I believe, Collision. Had a match there with the conglomeration there. Almost messed up the wording. And then tonight he takes the loss. So a topsy-turvy week for the great Mark Briscoe. Also, the Acclaimed, they cut a promo. This is the part where, again, FTR, cut the promo on them. They're upset about it. They said, they're in their town. Where are they? They're going to show up on Collision and be there. My question is this. The Acclaimed won the Eliminator title. Why are they not striking the Young Bucks now? They just finished with the blood and guts match. Everybody beat the crap out of everybody. That's the time to strike. Win the tag team titles. Instead, they're worried about FTR saying they're just a novelty act. So they're going to prove they're the best wrestler and everybody loves the Acclaim. And I feel like that, look, you won the Eliminator match. You should be getting a shot at the AEW tag team titles in the Young Bucks. We'll see where that goes. Statlander, Willow 3. This time the chain comes into play and she wins the CMLL Women's Championship Eliminator match. So apparently Chris Statlander will get a match for the CMLL Heavyweight Championship. And we'll see where they go from there, man. I really was high on this when it first happened. But it's been relegated to the Dynamites again. And I get it. You only have a pay-per-view every month and a half, maybe 2 months. But again, I feel like they didn't get the just due for what it was. A friendship gone bad, and it just rolled out on Dynamite like just another match, man. I feel like they didn't get the platform that they deserved for that buildup they had for that whole thing, and going in to have it just kind of play out on Collision and Dynamite, and maybe they'll get a CMLL match at All In. I don't know where they're going to do the title match at, but it'll be their 4th time now. There have been 4 matches in between. I felt like they could have, again, waited a little longer, made it mean more. And instead it was just kind of like, hey, they're going to take on each other in the Owen Hart tournament. And you could have put them on opposite sides of the brackets and made the final match between them. I get Mariah May was going to win it, but then I just don't understand why you would have them go against each other in a semifinals. And it's just, I don't know. Some of the things, again, this is my own personal thing. Chad, what's up, man? Terry, I will answer that when I get to the whole thing with Swerve and Bryan Danielson. The other thing that happened, MJF comes out. He's apparently Captain America now. He's Mr. America. He gets booed in South Carolina. But then I found it interesting was then Ospreay comes out and, he runs them down, bruv this and bruv that. And the crowd starts chanting USA. I mean, again, MJF opens his mouth and then they kind of stop it, but it's what my thinking is like, your shows happen on the U.S. soil. Like, do you think they're not going to chant USA just because Ospreay's over? It's like, I don't know 100% which way they're going to, but again, I don't know what they thought was going to happen. But you're in South Carolina. You're in North Carolina next week. You don't think they're going to be chanting for the USA over, they're not going to be going England, London. I mean, maybe they get Bruv going or something. But, I mean, I'm not sure where he thought it was going. MJF ends up cheap shotting, basically, Ospreay after his match with Lance Archer. Archer just threw Ospreay around, and then Ospreay battled back. It was a good, decent match, but basically it was just to get to the MJF coming in at the end, laying out Ospreay. Kyle Fletcher makes the save, and he's part of the Don Callis family, and he went and he said, Don, I know you said we weren't going to get in Ospreay's business anymore because it's not family business, but he's my best friend. He's my brother. And that makes it my business. And then he went in on, MJF talking about, you run down. He said his dream the whole time when he was younger, wrestling with pillows, was that he would make it over to the U.S. and wrestle. And the U.S. has given him his career. Kyle Fletcher had a very passionate speech and passionate promo. And next week now it will be MJF taking on Kyle Fletcher. Then you had Brian Keith taking on Shibata, announced also. And then the third match that was announced was Bryan Danielson taking on Jeff Jarrett. Now, again, if you watched it last week, Jeff Jarrett sat down and he says, look, if you're going to do this, you need to be all in. So Bryan Danielson comes down and he starts talking. And the first thing I write down here is, I said, feels like a goodbye speech. It felt like Daniel Bryan was just speaking from the heart, right? It's one of those times where it's like, you're not going out there with a bullet point. It's like, hey, just go out there and talk to the fans. He talked about how him and Bree came and took their pictures in South Carolina, and that they were looking at those same pictures, recently, and that, talked about promises and everything there. He said that he promised to his daughter that when she turned 7, he would stop being a full-time wrestler. And he promised his family that when his AEW contract was up, that would be his last basically full-time wrestling contract. That contract expires tomorrow. So he goes in and Swerve comes out and, again, Swerve, this is the one thing that I don't know. And maybe it's what makes the character kind of what it is for Swerve, is that he always makes it personal, no matter what. No matter what. He was kind of like in there and he's talking about, Brian telling him everything. Then he gets ready to leave. Bryan Danielson looks at him, or actually had his back to him as Swerve's leaving. And he says, Swerve, I've got one more promise. And he says, if I don't win the AEW World Heavyweight Championship at All In, I will never wrestle again. He wants it to be a title versus career match at All In. Swerve just walks up to him, sticks out his hand, shakes his hand, and all he says is, don't keep that promise to me. Keep it with your family. And there's always that point in the Swerve programs where it just gets that little personal time. It happened with Ospreay. Of course, it did it with Hangman. It happens in every program that he does. There's that one part where it just gets personal. And that seems to be the way this is going to go now. So now it will be a career versus a title match. Now, here's the thing. Afterwards, Jarrett was in the back, and they were like, that's what I'm talking about, Brian. You went all in. And Bryan Danielson kind of smacked the hat out of his hand and was like, you want to see me all in? Next week, me and you on Dynamite. And, of course, that match got signed as well. So you got 3 matches right there for next week's Dynamite. And it's going to be interesting. And Terry says, Sean, who do you think is going to win the Swerve Bryan Danielson match at All In? The thing that Bryan Danielson said was that if he doesn't win the AEW World Championship, he will never wrestle again. Not part-time, never wrestle again. Not I'll never wrestle in AEW again. No, he said, I will never wrestle again. And again, this is the part where it puts the doubt in your mind. Like, is this it? I get his contract is up. But does he end his wrestling career in London against Swerve? It's going to be interesting because he said that, his full-time wrestling career would come to an end this year. He's already made that known. But it still felt like he was still going to do some part-time stuff here and there. And again, it's pro wrestling, so not necessarily that everything's going to stay the way it is. But now it also makes me wonder, like, has his neck injury and the injuries he's had, have they started to take a toll on him to where now he's like, I'll do this match at All In, go all out in this match, and then when I lose, I'm done. Just let me get through All In. And the word I heard was that he was not going to wrestle until All In. And then tonight I heard him challenge Jeff Jarrett. And I was like, whoa, wait, he's going to be in the ring. I felt that what I had been reading was that they were going to try to hold him out as much as possible to make sure he gets to All In. So is there an underlying injury? Maybe that's what's gone to the stipulation here. So now that when he loses, he's done. But part of me says, and not taking anything away from Swerve, but does Bryan Danielson pick Swerve as the one to end his wrestling career? Again, you could pick a lot worse. But I just kind of felt like Bryan Danielson's career would end with a storyline, like more of a, I mean, I get he's going for the title, so he's basically all in. He's pushed all his chips in. My career versus your title, and we'll see how it plays out. I mean, if you were to ask me, I'd say Swerve 1 would win. But now they've thrown the career thing to where he'll never wrestle again unless there's an underlying injury, which the fact that he's wrestling next week against Jeff Jarrett, if that match does happen, if he's got an underlying injury, you're taking a big chance. So it must not be an underlying injury. So, man, I really think, I just don't think Swerve loses the title right now. So I'm going to have to say right now that I believe Swerve Strickland is going to end the career of Bryan Danielson at AEW All In. I think the last scene you're going to see is Swerve leaving the ring, going up the ramp, Bryan Danielson standing back up, and 50,000 fans giving Bryan Danielson a standing ovation and sending him off, or his wrestling career off at Wembley Stadium. That's how I feel right here today. Will that change as the buildup goes? Maybe. Maybe. But I definitely, again, because if he wins, technically he's not under contract. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to stay and kind of be in the backstage area regardless, even as his career winds down. I really think he likes AEW. He likes being able to put the input into the matches and working with the men and women backstage and helping with their careers and everything there. So we will see where that goes. Chad says, I think you nailed it for now. As you said, it's professional. Exactly. But again, I don't think Bryan Danielson is going to come back per se, because as he's always said, his career is winding down. He already said he wasn't going to be full-time after this contract ended. That contract ends tomorrow, which is another reason. If he does win the title, how is your champion? And I get it. You got Roman Reigns, who's kind of part-time and this and that, but he's still got to be at Dynamite and things like that, where I don't know. I mean, you told your family you're going to not do you're going to Tom Brady it. You know, it's so hard, man, because I know that he loves wrestling. He loves pro wrestling. He loves everything about it. And it's hard to walk away, especially when, again, at least he got this second chance to come back and leave the way he wants to leave with his career. And that's going to be the interesting thing. No Doubt came in. He says, would they really do that after MJF handing the title to a guy that they don't have securely signed in the future? Never underestimate the TK. But again, I think here's the thing. Personally, I think MJF was under contract way before any of us knew that he had already signed or anything like that, because you just don't do that. And with Bryan Danielson, everything I've heard about him is he's 100% his word. Like that's what he is. So to me, if I'm Tony Khan and he's given me, a word that, hey, this is how we want to go with it. And Bryan Danielson has been involved in the creative area of AEW. So, again, they might have given him the ball to run with this to let it play out and see where it goes. I just don't see, again, I found it odd when it was Swerve and Ospreay before, because I thought that would be your main event match at All In. Then when they did that match at the last pay-per-view, I was like, oh, then it's going to be MJF Ospreay at, I was thinking Ospreay beats Swerve for the title, and now you have MJF against Ospreay for the heavyweight title at All In. Now, of course, we know where that's headed now. And now you've got Danielson against Swerve. You've got Ospreay against MJF. And now you've got Pac, who he won the match to get the shot, but now it's kind of like they're trying to act like it never happened, I guess. Because even today during the promo, he was like, you threw the international title in the garbage can and you disrespected the wrestlers who've had it. And, and he went through the list of the wrestlers that had it. They mentioned Pac. They mentioned, Penta. They mentioned Orange Cassidy. They mentioned John Moxley. They went through the whole list, and Pac had won the international global four-way match to get a shot at the champion. And they even said when Ospreay versus MJF, the winner of that match would face Pac at All In. Now it's a rematch. That's the only thing that I don't understand on some of this is they don't book it that way. Just say you'll get a future shot at a title at a pay-per-view. Like even the one with Darby, apparently he wins a battle royal on Rampage, where now he is getting a title shot at the AEW heavyweight champion at the Grand Slam, which is in Arthur Ashe Stadium. That's fine. That's a Dynamite. I guess, you can make those work. But you had Pac cut a promo after he won that match, how he's heading to All In and he's going to make, an impact because he missed last year's. And now all of a sudden it's MJF Ospreay. And now this is the other thing too. And this is where, my problem with the whole Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk thing is Drew McIntyre and CM Punk have had that feud and have elevated that feud. And now you just kind of, let's throw Seth in there. I feel like that's what would happen if Pac gets added and makes this a triple threat match. It's like, okay, you have this escalating feud between two men being MJF and Ospreay, and now you just kind of, we got to put Pac in there. I don't like the way that some of that has been handled, and that's the problem I have with the whole way the SummerSlam match was booked. I get that you're trying to tell us, they all hate each other. That's fine, but Seth doesn't bring anything to that match that wasn't already there between Drew and Punk. That's my problem. Have we seen Pac? Could he be hurt? Otherwise, they just abandoned this. I believe they just abandoned the storyline. They wrote him off of TV so that you forget about him for a while. I guess I'm guessing, man, because I haven't seen anything that said he was hurt. So I'll have to check and see that. But I'll have to see. He was not on today's show. The only time he was mentioned was in Will Ospreay's promo talking about former international champions and how they've busted their ass to make the title what it was, and you just threw it in the garbage can. So, again, I feel like it's one of those things where they're going to try to be like, out of sight, out of mind. Maybe they'll forget about it. But if you're watching this show, I'm going to keep reminding you every week. So that's all I got to say about it. All right, let me see if anything else comes in. If you guys are watching on X, Twitch, appreciate you. Please, if you want to, send in them questions real quick. We got a couple more minutes. And then I didn't watch today Olympics. No, I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. I watched a little bit of the Olympics. I had the women's soccer match on the big TV, and I actually watched Dynamite on my phone so I could watch the Olympics as well. So it is what it is, man. You got to make it happen. Got to make it happen, Captain. All right, guys, gals, I appreciate you all. If you're watching on X, appreciate each and every one of you. If you tune in on YouTube, appreciate you. Please make sure you hit the subscribe and like button on your way out. Please like the video on Twitter if you will. Jump on over to the Stanley Media House Network YouTube channel. We have reaction shows. We will have a SummerSlam reaction show. Myself and Frankie Fresco. As soon as SummerSlam goes off the air, we will be on the air. We also have a SmackDown one coming this week. And looking at probably trying to cut one. There's been supposedly a mystery meeting with Tony Khan and one Shane O'Mac. Interesting development. Might put something together, or at least give you my thoughts on what could get interesting if they play it out. Again, if they're just going to kind of like, hey, we just want to sign them and bring them in, that's cool. But there's other contracts coming up. You could turn this into something good. So that might be out a little bit later on here on the Stanley Media House Network YouTube channel. Chad, you have a great night, my friend. No doubt. Appreciate you. Terry, appreciate you. Dad, have a great night. To everybody watching on Twitch, everybody watching on X, everybody, have a great Wednesday night. Appreciate you spending a few minutes with me here on the Stanley Media House Network. And in the words of the great Gordon Soley, so long from the sun, shine, state.